Hey there! So today I cleared my entire schedule to be able to work on a commission I got for a character design and character sheet, and I thought I'd take you along for the ride. My usual process for this kind of commission spans among multiple days to make sure I can take breaks in between, double check my work in process with fresh eyes, and obviously get feedback from my client. But the first brainstorming phase of everything, the planning stage basically, is something I'd like to do in one go if possible. Which is the reason why I like to clear off entire days for this particular part of the process. So let's just get right into the very first step. These pictures right here are the ones that the client sent me for references, and the text down here is for more context. The important things to know for the visuals are that this character has dark short hair, and based on the text and visuals, she's a butch trans woman with a quote-unquote wild past, so to say. This past is visual in many scars on her body, but these are also things of the past, so no fresh wounds or band-aids or something like that. She has a complicated history with her own body in general. However, now she's happy with herself and her gender expression, which is something I want to visualize in her outfit. There are some more context informations down here, which are very helpful for me, but the things to focus on are things like the fact that she likes to wear skirts sometimes but prefers ripped jeans out of convenience and financial reasons, which to me means she's the kind of person who wears things until they fall apart and doesn't exactly care for brand names or things like that. These are the kind of thoughts that lead me while looking for my own references and brainstorming with the first sketches. After I collected and sorted the input I got from the client, which I did right here, my next step is to go look for my own references. I do most of the thinking for those references during that process, but something that's already on my mind is that I'd like to look for more punk styling inspiration. Most of the references are rather sporty and casual look, but I'd like to try some accessories as a form of self-expression and gender celebration. Nothing too big or fancy, because that would combat the I don't really care that much about fashion aspect of it all, but we'll see what I can come up with or if we end up abandoning this particular idea in the end. Okay, I think that's enough for the first brainstorming session. I basically just went ahead. I have my mood board open up there on my computer. Referenced the various photos for each sketch. I jumped around between different photographs. Some of these things are not referenced by the photos at all. I think my favorite is the very first sketch so far, because I feel like this is a good combination of the sporty kind of personality, but also like the punk aspect of it all. However, I also like this one where I leaned more into the sporty thing. Don't know how handy this big ass jacket would be, especially considering she's still supposed to like parkouring and stuff. But I guess she could just take the jacket off if she decides to climb some trees or whatever. I did notice that I have, for some reason, have a preference of having her with crop tops. I do want to do a different one where she has more layers, basically showing less skin, even though like here she's also wearing the leggings. I just want to try a different silhouette with more layers, more different fabrics, stuff like that. I do really like the idea of the short hair, which was something the client told me to do. However, I also want to try a semi-long, maybe even a little bit longer, but that's something I'm going to decide while doing the 3 different full body rough sketches she can pick a direction from. The thing is, usually I would not put that much work into the very first draft, but this is a long-term client of mine and a friend of mine, so I'm pretty sure I know which direction she wants. And also I just feel like doing it. So I'm going to turn this page into 3 different rough designs she can choose one or a combination of those 3 from and send her the quote as well. And after I got her feedback, I can sit down to start working on the first one. Here I'm working on the actual digital sketches where I pay more attention to anatomy and specific details. I also build upon the body types a bit more because my focus for these sketches is to have a variety of designs that are basically different interpretations of the bullet points my client gave me. The first design leans more towards the butch, very sporty, punk, kind of outgoing person, I guess, though all of the designs are interpretations of these key phrases. The second design, on the other hand, leans more into the sporty vibe of it all, with tight clothing that wouldn't get caught on parts of the walls when parkouring, stuff like that. The jacket gives a nice contrast to the rest of the design, which is tighter, and just gives everything a more interesting silhouette. I also introduced the punk details the client referenced with the piercings and all. The third design is the one where I focus the most on the punk aesthetic, I'd say, which I also feel is the most different from the other 2 designs. I chose a more loose kind of outfit because I also thought that the first 2 designs are more tight and showing more skin, stuff like that, while the third one focuses more on the general punk aesthetic and leaves the sporty vibe a little bit behind. So it's actually been a few days, and in the meantime I got feedback from the client. She had a clear favorite, and I am ready to start on the actual final character sheet. Her favorite was the middle design, and she especially liked the big puffy jacket as well as the baseball cap and the piercings. And she also suggested for the pins on the jacket to be a wild variety of different pins, not a very curated situation, more like, oh, I like this random ass pin, I'm gonna put it on my jacket. Which is an idea I really, really like. So I'm gonna have a lot of fun designing those buttons. Her actual idea for one of the buttons was to use a street sign, and I instantly ran with that idea and suggested a 69 speed limit kind of street sign. She loved that idea, and so it is for sure one of the designs I'm gonna do for the character. These kind of conversations are actually
maybe even my favorite part of the character design process, because it just feels like a collaborative effort between me, the artist, and the client who has, the initial idea and like even if clients say they don't really have a clear idea, they usually do. They just don't know it. And it's the job of the artist to be like, okay, this might be what you're imagining. And if it's one of those situations where it's like, yes, this is a design alive, I have an idea of a street sign button, and I'm like, oh my god, I love the idea. I suggested 69th Street because haha, 69, funny number. And it just like this mutual understanding, which I love, and it just feels like we're building something together, and that's just chef's kiss all around. But this is the point of the commission where I also sat down to sketch the character sheet, just like very quick placeholder sketches to visualize for myself the parts of the character design that are important. For example, the buttons. I just did like random circles. I'm gonna put the sketch somewhere on here. And for me, I could have done just a written down list of everything I need, but for me, I prefer to work in this way because I'm just a visual person, and I also like to build the character sheet all in one canvas, so I have an overview myself instead of doing one file for the front view of the character, another one for the button callouts, another for the piercing callouts, stuff like that. And I also just went ahead and like, yeah, for this particular design, the buttons are important. And also the client wanted like a portrait sketch of like a different face expression to like visualize her personality a bit more. And I personally also thought that we need a torso sketch to show her build more, because her big jacket just hides her overall build. And if, for example, she wants to have an illustration where the character isn't wearing the jacket, the other artist or me or whoever she would commission, or if she decides to do something herself, that person would need to know the character's build overall to be able to draw her well out the jacket. So that's why I also put that sketch in there. But yeah, overall, the client was super happy with the first sketch of this design that I did. So I can basically move ahead doing this one, but on the character sheet itself, I'm gonna add some more details. Like, one thing I already plan on doing is to add some frayed edges to the jacket, because like we already established, the character is the kind of person who wears her things until they are literally falling apart, and while the jacket hasn't reached that point yet, it is well worn, well loved, and we need to visually communicate that. That's just one of the ways to do it. So yeah, for me, the next step is build on the character design, add some more details, more visual storytelling, and then get more feedback from the client.
After most of the planning is done, ideally in one day, I switch over to using the small pockets of time I have in my day to outline my sketches and improve the design where needed. Those pockets of time are, for example, on the bus to my day job or when I need a break in between other tasks. I think I got a big chunk of the line art done between doing my taxes and finishing some other similar admin things actually. On those days, the creative work like this is my biggest highlight. While working on the line art for this sheet, I noticed small things I wanted to add, like the call out for the eye or the earrings on the left ear, which I forgot while drawing the front view of the design. Pretty much the only big thing I hadn't planned for is the color scheme. I usually make a rough color sketch before starting the actual line work, but here I think I just got too excited and accidentally skipped that step. However, that didn't impact my process much, because I tweaked the final colors at this step anyways. Originally, I wanted to go with an almost white jacket to contrast her skin, but that pulled the focus away from the face and too much towards the big white area of the jacket itself. Since the inspiration was a punk aesthetic and the client specifically mentioned my personal clothing style as well, I defaulted to red as a highlight color, and while I personally still like the red, I'm glad the client requested a color change. The orange also fits the character's personality a bit better in my opinion. Something else that was a little bit of a challenge during this process was to not overwork anything, because that's especially important for visual development works, and I also can't put too much time I didn't calculate into the quote into the commission as well. I still added flats to the portrait instead of keeping just the sketch as originally intended, and I also put a gradient on the back view of the character to make it look more unified with the front view. After getting the last okay for the illustrations, I finalized the layout and got the final okay from the client for the overall character design sheet, which I am very happy about. This design was so much fun, and since I've spent a lot of time lately on challenging myself on backgrounds, it was a very welcome change of pace to be able to focus on the characters again. Sometimes you just gotta love the comfort zone. But now I'm gonna return to studying plans for a set other illustration I'm working on, and I'm looking forward to showing that one to you in the future as well. I hope you enjoyed this little insight into my own character design process, and thank you so much for watching. And for now, bye bye!